Hey everybody, I am back. I'm sharing a story about Amanda's sick and she healed acne, migraines, her gut health, her period pain, all naturally with a whole food plant-based diet. Welcome, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk with you.
I'm very excited to talk with you. So, first off, anyone joining, we are both in the plant-based bundle right now. It is just about to end. There is over 80 contributions, plant-based, raw, there's juices, there's guides, there's meditation, there's all sorts of things in there. If you want to grab it, go over to Instagram and find Amanda or myself and grab that. It's only there for a little bit longer. And now we've done that. So let's talk about your healing. When did you first get sick with all of this, with the acne, the migraines, the stomach, and the period pain?
Yeah, so I grew up eating like the standard American diet of, tons of fast food and just ultra processed stuff, refined sugars, eating from drive-throughs all the time and just very, very unhealthy. Um, and I did struggle with like migraines and stomach issues and, I would get sick a lot as a kid and, even, when I like early teen years and into high school and stuff, I had painful periods and um I had acid reflux. I remember I was on medication for acid reflux in high school because it got so bad to the point where I like every time I'd eat, I would like just have like episodes and it was really bad. And but then it was in college when I started developing really bad acne and it kind of came out of the blue. Like I had some acne in high school a little bit like most people do. But then when I was like around 20, 21, it like got really, really bad and I
Wow.
didn't know why. And so I was like, obviously at the time I didn't have the knowledge that I do now and I didn't make the connection between my skin and my gut and my overall health and how my diet was affecting all that. So at the time when I started having these breakouts, my first thought was, oh, I need like some topical creams and ointments to put on my skin to try to, all these products that were marketed to us for to help clear our skin and, for acne and stuff like that. I thought that's what I needed. I thought it was a topical issue. And then it got so bad that nothing was really helping. I went to my doctor at the time, and of course, all they really told me was, "Well, we can put you on a strong antibiotic, or we can put you on birth control because it's probably hormonal." And that's all they really gave me, those options. And I'm very grateful looking back that I chose not to take either one. Um, I did take I remember I left with the prescriptions and I something in me just didn't feel okay with that. And I was like, there's gotta be something else. Like, I don't want to just take a pill. And so luckily I researched, I just started researching things and I decided that I wanted to try to go the natural route and figure out why this was happening and why my skin was breaking out and so inflamed and um I knew I wasn't eating the best, but I was very active as a kid and I was never like overweight or had any severe issues, so I thought I was fairly healthy. Um, but I really just I dove deep into I came across research on, gut health and the connection between that and our skin and how what we're eating every day amongst other factors like stress and so many other things affect that. But I was like, "You know what? I should probably like try to clean up my diet a little bit." And at that same time I had gone vegetarian with a friend. It was kinda like a challenge type thing, and then I just stuck with it. And then I ended up going vegan for ethical reasons, and this was around the same time I was still struggling with my skin. Um, but when I went vegan, I was still eating some ultra processed, vegan foods, and it wasn't until I really kept researching and I realized, like, I need to cut out, the refined sugars, the oils, the ultra processed stuff, the gluten, things that are causing inflammation in my body, and I really need to try to heal my gut and which will ultimately hopefully heal my skin. And at the time, I had no clue how long that would take or what that would entail. It was a very frustrating couple years for sure, a lot of trial and error. I would have periods of time where I didn't even wanna look in the mirror, I didn't even wanna take
Oh,
photos, any of that because it was so bad. And, like, I got to the point where I completely stopped wearing makeup because I didn't even though it was hard to go out without any makeup on, I knew it wasn't helping the situation by clogging my pores even more, and I didn't wanna make it even
sure.
worse. So I made myself just go out without the makeup on, it was really tough. But, I did it, and then Yeah, it was a long process, but once I started getting into juicing, and that's a huge thing that helped me, and, like, just raw foods, and I didn't go completely raw, but I did periods of all raw,
Sure.
and just ultimately, like, whole food, plant-based, started getting really creative in the kitchen and just loving it too as I was that's how I got into my recipes and loving doing that. But I started seeing, like, not only my skin was clearing up, but I just felt more energized and my migraines went away, my painful periods went away, my acid reflux, I didn't need my medication anymore. And I
Wow.
just felt better overall. So, yeah, it's a long, long journey. That was about I'm 28 now, and it was about 21, 22 when I really got serious and made these changes. So, um, yeah, it's yeah.
Wow, what a journey. So you were about 21 when you started to go vegetarian, or were you at 21 when you went raw and you completely like had been
Yeah, I was
juicing?
21, I think, when I went 20 or 21 when I went vegetarian, and then at 21, I went vegan, and then I was probably around 22 when I really went, like, whole food, plant-based, high raw, and cut out the vegan processed foods. Um, so about 6 years I've been on, high raw juicing, lots of
Sure,
fresh foods and things like that, yeah.
sure. So you said as well it was still flaring up when you were whole food plant-based. Was that right? You were still having pretty big
Yeah,
issues?
yeah, it didn't go away overnight for sure. It would come and go. I think I could tell, like, when I would eat certain things, like, even if it was plant-based, like, certain things would maybe make it a little worse and I would get more inflammation. But I noticed when I went on periods of all raw or have very high raw with lots of juicing and smoothies and lots of fruit, I could see a very big difference in my skin and just the breakouts. It was a process, but they started coming less and less, and they weren't as bad, and if I did get breakouts, they would go away quicker. And then my skin's not perfect, but it's night and
It
day to
looks
where it used to be.
amazing. I see you
Thank
on
you.
TikTok, you're always, like, fresh-faced and your recipes just look so incredible.
Thank you, thank you. But yeah, as far as, like, pretty consistently for the last probably, let's see, 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years, pretty I've been pretty happy with my skin. So, yeah.
That's good. So what about now? So you've done the, juicing and high raw,
Mhm.
and if you eat more whole food plant-based cooked now, do you still ever get those flare-ups again, or you feel like the raw foods has flushed it through?
That's a good question. I think I don't really get any. I think if I ever do get, like, little blemishes here and there, it's if I have something with it's very rare that I have, like, any refined sugar, but if very occasionally, if I have, like, some vegan, like, a cookie or something that I didn't make myself that has, like, sugar and maybe gluten in it, that might
Oh,
flare it up a little bit. But overall, if I eat, like, I still eat high raw, but I eat some cooked, I'll do, like, quinoa, I'll do beans and, chickpeas and things like that, like, organic tofu sometimes, and I don't notice any, like, flare-ups with stuff like that, like, pretty clean, whole food, plant-based foods. But I think it does help that I still am juicing and eating a lot of fruit, a lot of raw foods too, for sure.
that's amazing. So what
Mhm.
are you eating in a day at the moment?
Yeah, it really depends. I Right now, it's just heading into summertime where I'm at, so watermelon is in season, and I love watermelon, and I always try to break my fast with, in the summer, watermelon, but, or watermelon juice or, like, coconut water, or some type of, green juice or, I wanna get that hydration in first thing in the morning. I think it's really good to break your fast that way, and then I, typically have fruit, and then I'll have a smoothie, or a smoothie bowl, depending on what I'm feeling that day. I do intermittent fast. It's not like a consistent, like, set schedule every day, but um, I do that, whether it's 12 hours or 16 or sometimes 18 hours some days if I'm feeling like it. Um, as far as my meal, I typically have around, like, 1 main meal a day. Sometimes I'll have 2 smaller meals, but typically I have 1 main meal. Lately, I've been doing just really big salads, with a lot of variety. I actually did about 3, 4 weeks ago, I did a week-long, like, coconut water fast for about 7 days. I did just coconut water, and I
Fresh
felt
coconuts?
yeah, and I felt really good. I felt really good. And after that, all I wanted was like tons of raw food, lots of fruit, big salads. And so I've kind of kept on that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've dreamt of doing that. I can't justify the co was it expensive?
Yeah. I would have gone longer if it wasn't. I'm in an area where it's not like I'm not in like Florida or something where I have an abundance of coconuts. So it wasn't cheap for even just that week. It was actually about I think I did 5 days on just coconut water and then I did some juices the last couple days before I started eating again. But I had never gone that long on it was young Thai coconuts, coconut water. And I felt so hydrated and so just
Yes.
like I was able to go in the sauna and I usually go like 10, 15 minutes in the sauna and then I got to get out. I was able to go like 30 minutes and I felt great. Like I was so hydrated.
Wow.
It was yeah, it was a cool experience. But since then I feel like I just wanted way more raw foods and big salads and just fresh foods. Sometimes I'll have, depending on as far as what I eat in a day, like I'll make my little, no bake treats using dates and stuff like that. And I'll
Yes,
have
that's
stuff
such an
like that.
amazing ebook.
Thank you. Yeah, I used to I had a big sweet tooth growing up and I still kind of do, I guess, but it's not for like the refined stuff. It's for like fruit and dates and things like that. So I that's one thing that when I was changing my diet, I was like, okay, I can't keep having all this processed sugar. I need to find a way to like still eat the things that I enjoy, but in a healthier way. And so
Sure.
I got creative in the kitchen and started using things like dates and coconut sugar and just fruit to sweeten things. And that's when I got really passionate about. I'm like, this is fun. Like I can create these good like treats and show people that you can still enjoy a dessert or a treat in a healthy way. Like it's made with like 3 to 4 ingredients, and you know exactly what's in it, and you don't get those blood sugar spikes, and you're also giving your body nutrition, and it's so yeah, I like doing that, showing that through my recipes for sure.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love it. When you think back to the foods that you were eating before, even foods that you eat now, could you pinpoint at any time what foods you're sensitive to? As in, even when you were vegetarian or even whole food, plant based, or even raw, are you noticing that there's foods that can trigger the migraines or a bit of a flare up or
Mm. Um, I would say definitely before I went plant-based, I would say I think dairy was a big trigger for
I
me,
hear
big
that?
very inflammatory. I think it is for a lot of people. And gluten too. Um, I went completely gluten-free for like a couple years, like pretty strict with it. And then I kind of realized it's maybe not necessarily the gluten itself. For some people it is, but I think the quality, at least in America, is
Yeah.
so heavily sprayed with glyphosate and it's so
Yeah.
like it's not the same, because people can go to Europe, I've heard it, I've never been, but people that go to Europe and stuff are able to eat bread and they're fine, but they go to try to do that in America and it's like, they can't do that. So, if I do have any gluten or, like, wheat products, it's something that it's very rare, but it's sprouted, it's glyphosate free, it's organic, and I notice even with that, I tend to do better on that. If I eat too much of it, I do notice a little bit of inflammation and maybe a flare up, but as far as, like, the migraines and painful periods and things like that, honestly, I haven't dealt with that luckily in years. Um, so as far as, like, certain, like, foods, I would say there's nothing really that comes to mind. I don't if unless it's, like,
That's good.
sugar or gluten or too much, obviously, I don't do dairy anymore. So, but yeah, overall, I think, keeping it whole food, plant-based, I do pretty well with most things.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm also thinking, like in America, when I went there, what I noticed is there's so many ingredients in products. So, like when you think it's like
Mhm.
gluten in bread, there's also so many preservatives. And when you buy
Yeah.
fresh bread in France, you're not going to get that load put in the system. I just think of that
Yeah.
often when I hear these people say, they went overseas and the gluten. I'm like, how do you know it's just the gluten? You're not
Right,
just
there's
eating
20
gluten.
ingredients in the bread. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. I think that's so
Yeah.
amazing. So do you do anything else or have you noticed you're able to do like more exercise? Do you exercise daily and did you notice that increased once you got your health back?
Oh, for sure. I've always been active and in sports. Like I grew up playing softball and basketball and I was an active kid, which I think maybe overset like helped balance out the bad diet that I had maybe, but
Yes, sure.
um I think yeah, I've always been active but when I did change my diet and lifestyle and I started getting more energy, I naturally wanted to move my body more. I wanted to go outside more and be in the sun and ground my feet and just be out in nature and for sure got I do try to work out, 5, 6 days a week. Um, and I lift weights and I notice the healthier I eat, obviously the better my recovery is, the more energy I have in the gym. Like it's all connected. And it's like people maybe don't realize like there's a lot of people that are very into working out and into the gym, which is great, but they don't really realize they kind of have a mindset of like calories in, calories out. It doesn't matter like what you're eating. It's like we got to get your protein and your macros in. And that's I don't agree with that because the quality of the food really matters because it's gonna depend how your, body is processing everything and how you're able to, build muscle and recover and all of that. So it really does go hand in hand, the nutrition and the fitness.
Yes, sadly, I've actually like I love TikTok for people sharing like their true stories. And I
Mhm.
see a lot of girls who say that they're like 26, they've never really drunk, they don't eat any processed food, they're gym junkies, but they've lived off these high protein, especially powders and stuff, and they've got these
Mhm.
massive liver problems and they're having to completely change their diet. And their liver shouldn't be shutting down, or not shutting down, but issues at
Yeah.
26, they're not even drinking. So it
Yeah.
really is, it's got to be more than that. That mindset. What is your mindset like? Did it get healthier as your? I mean, it was probably very healthy on coconut water. But
Yes.
how your
The
mind?
mental clarity that week was really good. That was I
Yeah,
felt good. Yeah, my mindset too, like I that's another thing is like just mood issues and stuff like that. Like when I was like years
yeah,
ago when I was on the poor diet, it really does affect your mental health and it's so connected. Like our gut and our brain are connected and everything we put into our body is going to have an impact on not just our physical but also our mental health. And I definitely noticed like when I started getting into the juicing and the raw foods and just whole food plant-based, I felt happier, I felt more positive, like, had more positive outlook on things, and I've noticed the way I respond to certain things and certain stressors in my life has changed compared to myself years ago that, um and it really does come down to, I believe, what you're eating for sure, just in general, like, how much you're moving your body and getting out into nature and managing your stress, and there's so much that goes into it, but the diet plays a huge, huge role for sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
I always like I know some people like there's sleep's the most important. And there's all these different important things, but as I saw it was I couldn't access good sleep, good exercise, good mental health until I got the food in. After that, it was like this whole new ball game that opened up. Like I was like,
Yeah,
oh wow, sitting out in nature doesn't itch anymore. It feels good. The sun's not burning me. It feels good. Did you notice
yeah.
a lot of those shifts when you started to eat more whole foods?
Yeah, I like you mentioned the sun thing because I'm able to go out in the sun. Obviously, I don't overdo it. I know there's
Yeah.
limits, like, eventually anyone's can burn in the sun, but I do realize the more I especially with, like, watermelon and the more I hydrate my body with, like, coconut
Yeah.
waters, I can be out in the sun more and my body can take it and I don't, get burned as easily, like, so I think people don't really realize when, they think they can't be out in the sun too long or they think they'll burn. It's does have to do with too what you're eating because a lot of especially the standard American diet, so many people are eating, you know, seed oils and sugars and all this processed stuff, and it doesn't mix well with the sun because the sun is a good thing, but a lot of people have a negative view on, "Oh, the sun's bad," but it's really, well, how are you living and what are you putting into your body that's reacting with the sun?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I remember when I went raw, I couldn't believe that I could be outdoors, and it felt like it was activating me. Like, when I'm on,
Mhm.
like, raw foods, I feel like I need the sun to activate another level of the food, whereas as
Yeah.
soon as sometimes when my gut's not great, I'll do flax oil to get some
Mhm.
fat in, and I'll notice that my body responds differently if there's an oil, inside of me, or I've used a new cream, and it's like it feels like the sun's attacking you, and it's so beautiful to have
Yeah.
food. And then there's, as I said, is this food gave me access to other levels like the sun and exercise.
Yeah,
So I
for
think
sure.
that's important. So what about recipes? What are your everyone's going to want to know what your favorite recipes are that make you feel good and that are really yummy.
Yeah, I would say if we're just thought so my new book is called Wanna Date, and that's the one that's in the plant-based bundle right now.
Yep.
So if we're talking about like sweets and dessert recipes, so everything in there is sweetened with dates, hence the name Want a Date. It's some of my favorites in there, the raw brownies that I have, those are really good, really easy to make. Everyone that's tried them has really liked them. They taste really like decadent and rich, but they're made with just like 4 or 5 ingredients, and they're all, plant-based. And there's my no bake Snickers bars are in there too. Those are pretty
Oh,
good.
yum.
I used to love, growing up, I loved Snickers and just like candy bars and stuff like that. So I love making just healthier versions that kind of remind me of that, like nostalgic taste, but in a much, much healthier way. And you know exactly what's in it. Trying to think what else. I have these pistachio tahini bites in there. Those are really good if you're a pistachio fan. Very easy to make as well. So yeah, there's a lot of good ones in there. As far as like savory recipes, um, I let's see. I mean, just big salads. I love adding in just huge variety. And I always make like a good dressing. I'll switch it up. Sometimes I'll do like lately I've been doing pumpkin seeds, like some sprouted pumpkin seeds, and I'll just blend that up into a dressing with some like garlic and some different spices and seasonings that I have, maybe some cilantro or something in there and some lime juice, and just blend it up into a dressing. There's a lot you can do with like there's so much you can do with plants, and if you just got to get a little creative, and if you have a good blender, you can just throw whatever sounds good in there, blend it up, and you have a good dressing. Um but yeah, there's so much, and there's like as far as like raw recipes, like savory stuff, I like doing like raw tacos,
Oh,
or like
no.
raw wraps. I have this like walnut mushroom kind of like crumble. It's kind of like a replacement for like taco meat. And it's like you just pulse it up in the food processor to get it into little pieces, mix it up with some seasonings, and I use little coconut aminos in there and some different spices. And then you just have it with, some avocado, some lettuce, some onion, whatever you like. Um, that's a good one. Uh, yeah, there's just so much. I mean, um, I just love showing people that you can eat healthy but still enjoy your food, because I think that's a big misconception when it comes to either a raw diet or just a vegan lifestyle in general or plant-based is, oh, the food's bland, you're just having these boring salads, there's no flavor, there's you're not getting enough protein. That's a huge huge myth, obviously. But just as far as the enjoyment of the food, a lot of people I think have the view that this way of eating is boring and tasteless and bland, which is the furthest thing from the truth. You just have to educate yourself and know what you're doing, and just, that's why this bundle is so great, because there's obviously so many recipes in there if you're trying to get
Yes,
started in
right.
this lifestyle. Um, so yeah, yeah.
How important do you think recipes are to this lifestyle? Like, what role do you think embracing recipes and recipes are as a raw
Yeah, so
vegan or as a whole food plant
yeah,
based?
it's very important because you have to know, like, you don't wanna go into it and not know, because a lot of people don't, if they're not used to this type of lifestyle, they might not know what to do if they're used to having, like, a certain type of meat at every single meal, and that's the staple of their meal, and they're not really, if they take out the meat or the animal products, they might not know exactly what to eat. And you do need to make sure you're eating enough, especially, like, plants are lower in calories. So you wanna make sure you're, getting in enough calories so that you're satiated, especially if you're not used to this way of eating. And getting in lots of fiber is very important, and making sure you have variety, I think. And so finding, a few staple recipes that you can go to, like, if you're having a busy week and you don't know what to eat, and you're hungry, but you don't wanna go out to, a restaurant or something, or order something that you might not that's not ideal for what you wanna be eating. Like, you have to plan out, have some staple recipes to fall back on that are easy to throw together, that are gonna be good. And I think a good way to start, if you are just getting into this lifestyle, is maybe start with, like, 2 to 3, like, recipes or types of foods that you really enjoy, and find a way to make a healthier version of that. Like, if
Yeah,
you are someone that loves pizza, I mean, there's a raw pizza book in the bundle, but
there
there's,
is.
whether you're raw or just plant-based, there's tons of vegan, whole food, plant-based pizza recipes. and raw pizza recipes. That's just one example, but or if you're a, if you love tacos or if you love, pasta or something like that, there's much healthier ways to make something like pasta, which you can make a raw version with zucchini noodles and spiralize some zucchini and make a good sauce and um or you can get some, organic, one ingredient chickpea pasta or something like that and still find a way to make a healthier version of certain foods and meals that you're used to eating because I think that makes it easier and it shows you like, "Oh, I can still enjoy these similar types of meals that I'm used to in a healthier way." And it kind of gets you curious of, "Oh, what else can I make that's, healthier, that's kind of similar to what I used to like." So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think the bonus is after you eat these things, we have this, like, I don't know, I was always used to feeling like crap. Like, we eat pizza, we feel like crap, like, we sacrifice how we feel for that moment of stimulation, and all of a sudden, you eat a raw pizza, and you're like, "Oh my god, I still feel good," like, it
I feel
tastes good,
good.
and then
Yeah.
that excites me, like, there's a new level of excitement.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. It's people I think that's so true because our what we eat definitely affects how we feel, and, everyone's gonna be able to handle more things than others. Some people can live off processed food for many years and not struggle much, but I think ultimately, for the most part, it's gonna catch up to them, and another thing, I don't think people realize how good they can feel because
True.
it's so normalized to be to have low energy and to have migraines and painful periods for women and to have these hormonal issues and just go around with low energy and just get your coffee or your energy drink first thing in the morning to stimulate yourself and um it's so normalized and so people think that it's normal and they think that, I don't know, they just don't realize how good they can feel. Like when I did that coconut water fast, like I had done juice cleanses previously, but the coconut water one, I felt even better on that one, honestly. And I if I would have been like in Florida on a beach or something, I probably would have gone longer on the coconut water. Like I felt so good. And not saying everyone needs to jump into like a cleanse, but I'm just saying if you start to clean up your diet and it really shows you, like, how good you can really feel, and I feel like it's sad that a lot of people just don't even know that that exists because they don't make the connection to what they're eating and how they're feeling, and I think to you and I and people, like, in this bundle, it's so obvious that, of course, what you're eating is gonna affect how you feel, but if you go ask the average person, like, "Oh, do you think what you're eating is affecting any of your health issues?" Or they'll probably say, "No, it's not correlated." Like, I've had even my mom told me her doctor told her that some of her health issues had nothing to do with what she was eating, and
Yeah,
it's just so
that's
sad
scary.
that, people don't make that connection, especially doctors and, things like that, so yeah.
It it used to I remember when I went raw vegan and I got online and I looked at what raw vegans look like, and I couldn't believe how much they're glowing, like,
Yeah.
as in they're all bright and glowing, and then I started to, like, listen to what they said and what they ate, and I was like, "Why did I used to take advice from doctors who look terrible, they're overweight,
Mhm.
chugging back coffee, telling me how to be, yet I look at them and that's not what I ever aspired to be," and now I always look who I get my information of, or I'm drawn more to um, people. And it's not like a cosmetic thing as much as it is like a vibrational thing where it's like the person you can see health coming out of them. Did you notice
Yeah.
that when you joined this like community?
Oh, for sure, you can tell when someone's, like, on a higher frequency, a higher vibration, and they're glowing, and their eyes are clear, their skin is glowing, like,
Yes.
you can definitely tell, and that's a good point about there are a lot of doctors out there, like, I tell my mom all the time, just because someone's a doctor does not mean they know everything. It doesn't mean especially when it comes to nutrition and health and that kind of thing. And it's unfortunate that so many people listen to, I'm not saying don't go to your doctor, but I'm saying, you know, it is a good point that you probably shouldn't take health advice from someone who doesn't appear to be very healthy themselves. So
Yes.
it's like, yeah.
But even I notice my work, the healthier or more I've looked after and loved myself, the better the outcome in my work, when I talk to people, when I coach. So even like when you're not feeling great, you kind of give half-assed advice, right? Like you
Yeah.
want to be feeling your best. Like it's not just for me. Like that's when I got well, I noticed that I didn't want to just feel good for me, but I wanted to feel good when I was around people, say they could feel good too. Or
Mhm.
um, it just I think we miss that point that we don't just do it for I want to feel good for myself first off, but I also want to feel good for other people as well, and be good, be on my best game for this planet. Like, what imprint do I leave when I leave this planet? And these are all things that, like, when you're eating that kind of diet that doesn't make you feel good, you literally just trying to get from A to B and then back in front of a television and like veg out.
Yeah.
Like, it's like A to
Yeah.
B and back again to A and then veg out. Like, you don't have any great high aspirations, or you want to help the planet, help people, do podcasts. You literally just want to survive.
Yeah, exactly, and that's unfortunate because so many people, I think, are stuck in that cycle, and it is true when you start loving yourself and it all starts
Yeah,
with you, and when you have that self-love, it's gonna come out and show to other it's gonna spread to everyone else in your life and all other aspects of your life. Because
that's right.
if you don't fill up your own cup first, how are you gonna pour from an empty cup, essentially? Like, how are you gonna help people in your life and show up for, whether you're a parent or just a friend or whatever, like, you have to value yourself and take care of yourself first. And I don't have kids, but, I'm just for parents out there, like, it's very important that you like, I a lot of parents I know of that say, they don't have time to, work out and things like that, and I think it's so important to try to find, even if it's 20 minutes a day, like, try to find that time to give yourself time to move your body and do something for you so that you can show up better for your kids and people that depend on you, because it's very true that, if you're not able to give yourself that love, it's hard to spread it out to other people in other areas of your life.
The biggest indicator of a child's happiness is the mother's happiness, and mothers are self-sacrificing every day, and
Yeah.
therefore the child grows up and does the same thing. So, if you're a child and you're seeing your mom get up and do self-love and self-care for at least the first 40 minutes of the day,
Mhm.
that to me is a greater impact than like throwing back a coffee and rushing them off to buy like lollies or something to kind of think that you're cheering them up.
Yeah.
It's such a different concept, and I know I'm not a mother either. It's just, I guess, when I healed myself, I thought long and hard when I was at rock bottom as to who in my life was well, and it wasn't really anything I'd learned. I almost finished my degree in psychology, but it wasn't what I learned there. It was actually my dad. Huge impact was he would get up every day, exercise every morning. And then before he even fed my sister and myself, he would squeeze fresh orange juice and he'd have a bowl. It'd be like raw oats and nuts and like a nut milk. And for lunch was salad sandwich and then whatever mum made for dinner, which was usually pretty healthy. Unless it was a weekend, then he'd have something different. And I was always thinking he never got sick. And he's doing these, and he would exercise again after work or during the day. So it was a lot of like self-love that at
Yeah.
my rock bottom, it was not that he drove me to McDonald's maybe on a Friday night. That didn't come to me. Literally his routine that I watch day in and day out. Finally,
That's
maybe I was
awesome.
40, but it got there in the end.
Yeah.
So I think really like those sort of things can have a really big impact on
Yeah,
people.
that's awesome, for sure, and I think there's a lot of, I think it's important to get your kids in the kitchen too and show them, like, get them
Yeah.
excited about eating healthy and creating, get them in the kitchen with you and show them how to prepare a salad or prepare a smoothie or, make a healthy dessert or something like that without just going to the store and, yeah, giving them a candy bar. Like, get them in the kitchen and show them, "Oh, we can make this healthy treat together," and I think it gets them excited about it. I wish I woulda had that as a kid. I didn't grow up like I said, and I love my parents, they did the best they could with the knowledge they had, but I didn't grow up in the kitchen. My parents didn't really cook much. That's why we ate out a lot and we ate fast food and just processed prepackaged meals pretty much. If we did have something cooked from home, it was pretty much like grilled cheese or just chicken and rice or something simple. Um, but I think because I didn't grow up in the kitchen, I think maybe I was so curious about it, but I don't know if most people are gonna be that way. I think a lot of people that grow up how I did might continue that cycle of feeding their kids fast food, continuing eating in a poor way. Um, so I think it's important if you do have kids, like, get them in the kitchen with you and show them, like, this make it exciting, fun, like, family time in the kitchen.
Yeah, I remember I got sick after chickenpox, like chronically from when I was little. I was always like weak, or what you'd have like histamine issues and chronic fatigue and all of that. I
Mhm.
lived in Houston, Texas for a year when I think I was about 9. And out of that whole bunch of being sick as a kid, that was the sickest I was. And in Australia, like we have probably at that time when I was growing up, we'd have like 5 cereals. There was like rice bubbles, Nutri-Grain, Wheat Bix, maybe some cornflakes, and then there was maybe a couple more, but very simple. And then the only treats we had were like Cocoa Pops and Frosty Flakes or Fruit Loops, probably 3, right? 3 treats that we could have on our birthday. I went to America. There is a double aisle as long as I could see of Captain Crunch Choc, Captain Crunch Double
Yeah.
Choc, Captain Crunch Double Choc Cookie Crunch. And I'm like, so I'm for breakfast not only having Captain Crunch chocolate fudgy munchie pops or whatever I'm having, and then I'm having a Pop-Tart afterwards.
Oh,
And then I'm
yeah.
having a cinnamon roll. And then you get to school, and we used to have a sandwich, maybe an apple and a cheese stick, or a space bar, which was still not that much, like it wasn't that bad. I'd have a full pack at lunch. Like you would literally have like 4 or 5 little treaty things, and like they'd heat up meatballs and all. We didn't have,
Yeah.
and then there was the pizzas were so different. We would have like maybe Hawaiian or cheese, and there's like pepperoni, there's barbecue. Everything was like processed,
Mhm.
processed, and that was the sickest I was. And when I went back recently to Hawaii, although I don't shop in my shopping centers here, what really aggravated me was going there and I'd have to get, some spices or fruits or something, is you could smell chemicals coming out of the boxes in the aisles of the like supermarket. And when I got back to Sydney, I was so grateful, because when you pick up things, I'm not saying that they're perfect, but we don't have that many ingredients in our food. Literally, when I was picking up things in America, there's like this color, that, and I was like, whoa, and it's double the size. We don't have that as much in Australia,
Yeah.
and you can smell it. Like I'm like, I'm happy to be
Yeah.
back smelling like
Oh
not.
my
So
gosh.
I really like look at you guys like superheroes of like what you've come through, because as sick as I was, I didn't experience that level of like, to me that's a whole level of addiction to overcome, to have had that much processed food from a young age.
Yeah, it's insane how looking back, like, I don't like to sit and dwell on it and think, like, all because
Yes.
knowing what I know now, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I ate this as a kid, I ate this," like, constantly, yeah, all the cereals you named, Pop-Tarts, everything, like, McDonald's, Taco Bell, all of all of that, and it is crazy. It does show you how resilient the human body is, like, it's pretty amazing how
True.
much the body can take, but it doesn't mean it's a good thing and you should be having it, but it is pretty crazy how much the body can handle and then bounce back and, still be healing itself and all that, but yeah, it's unfortunate because these things and especially the cereal aisle, it's like it's
Oh,
directly marketed at kids with all the characters on the boxes and the way that
yes,
they even have it on the box to where the character is, like, looking down because they know the kid is obviously
I've
little,
seen that.
and obviously the kid's gonna be like, "Mom, I want this," like, it's all colorful and it looks good to the kids, and once start giving your kids these things from a young age, it totally hijacks their taste buds and their brain chemistry, and it's gonna make them addicted to it, and so I know a lot of parents some parents I know of say, "Oh, my kid's too picky, won't eat that," but you have control over what you're giving them, and if you're giving them these things from a young age, especially, that's all they're gonna be used to. They're gonna be they're having these highly palatable foods at such a young age, and their bodies are gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, well, I want all this sugar, I want these artificial colors," and so if you can, like, introduce them to, like, fruits and veggies and just healthier they do make healthier snacks. There are brands out there that make much better options. They're more expensive, for the most part, but if you just try to give them mainly whole foods from a young age and, that's
Yeah.
gonna be the best thing for them later in life for sure.
I remember seeing, I could say so much here, because I just remember getting to America, because we're talking about in Australia, like this tiny little corner up the back, which is not thought about. It's just the cereal. And you go into America, it's like, hello,
Yeah.
heaven. It's all
Yes.
blue. Plus, we didn't have cable in Australia. So now you've got like Disney on tap, HBO on tap. Like, so you've got that. And every second thing is, now I'm thinking about it, is you're wanting to go to, we didn't have, I think we had in McDonald's when I got back is when I think Happy Meals came. We didn't have anything marketed to kids back then.
Wow.
So you're going, and I felt sick chronically, but I still wanted to go because I wanted a toy, or I wanted
Yeah.
like that. What I wanted to get into is we are run by dopamine. Like what motivates us and our decisions are dopamine based. So if you give kids huge amounts of sugar with like addictive type preservatives, like red dyes and blue dyes, is their brain is now wired for that. They can't see the colors of fruit and vegetables. And when their parents say they're picky, it's like, well, we're designed as humans for high dopamine. And I believe it's really hard unless a child from a young age has had whole foods. There was an instance I saw, I think it might still be on Netflix. There was a girl who had severe autism, and her mum said all she would eat would be um, dino nuggets
Oh,
and chips from like the freezer or whatever. That's all she'll eat, nothing she'll eat. And parents have it because we're in this fear-based society that the child's going to die if they don't get their dino nuggets. So anyway, I was paleo at this time, and this was a paleo. So it's fruit, nuts, seeds, and meat. So they
mhm.
said, no, we're putting. She had a twin sister. The twin sister had no behavioral problems. This was extreme. They couldn't leave the house. She'd rip down curtains, punch out her sister, all sorts of things. Hot, like this is extreme autism here. And she's only 3 or 4. So this guy came in with the film crew and put meat and veggies in front of her for 2 whole food meals, right?
Yeah.
Not vegan, but whole food. And
Yeah.
she wouldn't eat. And it's the parents that break down because they can't handle seeing their child suffer.
Mhm.
But they pushed through. The child did not eat for 3 days, not one drop of food. Through the food, everything. And the guy kept saying, if a person's hungry enough, they will eat. The food
Yeah.
is there. She's not coming from lack. And
Mhm.
eventually she ate, all the behavioral problems went, all of them. Like, and as I
Wow.
said, this was extreme. And it just makes me think, especially I had histamine issues and diagnosed with things like ADHD. And I notice even when I have some namashoyu, which is unprocessed soy sauce, my brain changes. And we don't ever get the choice to understand this as a child.
Mhm.
It's so there's so I've just got into so much, but
Yeah.
it's like it was really something that hurt me when I discovered raw foods, was that I, as a child, had never heard of this. Like, because at least if you introduce it, right? My nieces know about it. They don't have to eat it, but if they get sick, they can go, oh, Auntie Sky eats
Mhm.
raw food. That it's scary.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy how much it affects, like you mentioned, ADHD. Like, think of how many kids are, diagnosed with quote ADHD and all these issues, but they're being fed these dyes and these artificial sugars and constantly, and no wonder they can't sit still in class. They're being trying to forced to sit there all day, and they're having behavioral issues, but their brain is all being messed with from all the processed foods, and it's sad that more people don't realize it, and it's just marketed to us like crazy, especially in America with, that's all you see on TV is either,
Yeah.
pharma ads, which America's one of the only 2 countries in the whole world that's allowed, and then fast food commercials, and it's just constantly like there's fast food on every corner, and it's cheap, it's addictive, and it's convenient, and it's rare. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It is. I think the other thing I noticed is when this wasn't when I went raw, but when I first have tried diets which had no processed food in them, and I'm not at the degree, like as I said, I never ate a huge amount of processed food, but even when you go to Whole Foods, is the first thing I felt was empty because you're not stimulated. Like I actually think for the first part of my life, I thought reality, my happiness, my sadness, everything, it was just levels of stimulation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because the a lot of the ultra processed stuff, it's very stimulating, it's very highly palatable, but it's also and it's high in calories, but it's very low in it has very little nutrition, if any. And so people tend to overeat on all these things, and they're getting highly that dopamine hit and that blood sugar spike and all that, but they're not feeding their body true nutrition, and they're just eating empty calories essentially. And yeah, it is crazy. It's night and day difference when you go from that to eating whole foods and real food, what our bodies are meant to be consuming, and our
Yeah.
food that our body actually recognizes. Because if you go to the grocery store, especially in America, and you do see these lists of ingredients, and it's like our bodies don't recognize that as food. So what do you think's going to happen if you're constantly putting that in your body day in and day out?
That's right. So if somebody is out there and wanting to change their life, where would you say to start?
Yeah, well, I would say it can be very overwhelming, especially it depends each person is gonna be coming from a different spot and have things that they wanna work on. Some people might be dealing with acne like I was or, painful periods and migraines. Some people might have, um, other issues that some people might be overweight and they're wanting to lose weight. So everyone's gonna be different. Um, I would say don't be too hard on yourself and just maybe start with if you're unless you're, like, chronically ill and you need to make a drastic change, like, now, I would say for the average person, if you're just wanting to get healthier and, start eating more whole foods and things like that, maybe just start with, like, 2 to 3 things that you can really focus on, like, if you're someone that drinks a lot of soda, like, maybe just start with that first and cut out say, "I'm done with the soda, I'm still gonna eat what I'm eating, but I'm just gonna cut that out first," and then you'll probably notice, like, "Wow, I'm feeling like I can do that, and you know, what else can I do?" And then you'll maybe start eating less, you know, processed foods and um, one thing too is I am a big advocate for juicing, and I think even if you're eating a poor diet, if you start juicing, you're flooding your body with that nutrition from the fruits and veggies and the herbs, and it's a really good way to kind of reset your palate and your taste buds. And if you're still eating, like maybe eat what you want to eat if you're not quite ready to give up, you know, certain foods, but maybe get a juicer if you can and start juicing every day. And then I think your body will start to crave some of the better foods, and you'll realize too if you do start juicing or making smoothies, you're giving your body a lot of nutrition. So you're not gonna really because you're feeding your body from a cellular level, you're not really gonna crave these ultra processed foods because you're already gonna be
Mm.
satiated. So I think that's a good place to start is like through juicing if you can. Um, Start with 1 or 2 things that you can do as far as um, cutting out soda or cutting out, starting eating less fast food or things like that. Um, and then try to see what you can add in. Because a lot of people are hesitant to especially when it comes to what they're eating, is to give up things, but see what you can add in. Like just start adding in more 1 new fruit and vegetable every week or something like that, and
I
slowly
like that.
just start adding in more, and then the more good things you add in, because you're giving yourself that nutrition and that fiber and those good, nutrients, I think for most people, you're gonna want the poor food the poor, quality food less and less, and you're gonna start feeling better, and then your mental clarity and your energy is gonna improve, and for most people, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh, what else, can I do?" And you're gonna get excited about it, and at least that's how it was for me and a lot of people that I know of, so
I agree with all that. I also think the trick with the juice is you feel hydrated for the first time in your life. Half of our problems are not just the poisons, but we're so dehydrated. We don't know what true,
yeah.
doing all that coconut water, what true hydration. You literally
Yeah.
feel like you're just walking around with God. That's what it feels when I'm really hydrated from juices or coconut water. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're just floating around.
Yeah.
And so it's such an like that's why I know Jillian said to me the best she's ever felt in her whole life was she did 9 days on coconut water in Costa Rica, and you're
Mhm.
doing 5. I do 1 day, and I'm like,
Yeah, because 'cause it's got all the electrolytes and the
electrolytes.
potassium and stuff in it.
It's
It's like
like
I said,
blood. It's like
I was
plasma.
able yeah, I was able to last in the sauna for, like, 30 minutes pretty easily,
Yeah.
and I usually do, like, 10, 15 minutes, but I was so hydrated that my body could take the heat longer, and, um, so yeah, hydration is key. That's something for sure is, like, if you can get access to fresh coconut water, or juices too, I mean, cucumber juice is very hydrating. Watermelon juice if it's in season where you're at in the summer, and yeah, it's hydration is very important.
I love it. And on to craving nutrition. I was just going to say off the back of that, when I finally moved over to raw foods, I'd been vegan and whole food plant based, and I had been an alcoholic at the same time. But I remember when I was transferring over, is one of the last times I drank, is I woke up and I had already in the fridge, I think it was some steamed cauliflower and turmeric and ginger with a little bit of chia seeds in it. And I couldn't stop craving that. Like I feel as long as you start, you can get there. Like your body, instead of like it knew at that point that if I put more poison in, I'm just practically going to die. It craved something good. So I believe no matter where someone is you just got to take the steps forward. Even if you take 2 steps back, just take those steps forward.
Yeah, for sure, and it's never too late to make changes towards the better, and
100%.
there's always something you can do to improve your health, and the more you do it, the easier it'll get, and the more you'll want to, um, continue on and make even more changes, and it's just all works together for sure.
It does. And this has been amazing. Thank you so much. And for anybody
Yeah.
watching, the plant-based bundle is on. And what's your book called again? It's called I
It's
know it's full
called,
of dates.
yeah, Wanna Date.
Want a date. I love that. I love that. Want a date. 3 of my ebooks, classics, dinners, and favorites are in there, but there's 80 contributions. There's so many raw. There's cooked. Head over to Instagram, to my Instagram page or Amanda's Instagram page, and click that link because it only lasts for a couple more hours.
Yes, you have just 3 more hours,
Yep.
$50, and it's almost $3,000 value, so
It's
don't
amazing.
wanna
You
miss
will
out.
use it. Start your
Yes.
abundance journey with lots of abundance.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, so thank you. I think I've already put your detail. I've put how to find you in the description so people can go and
Awesome.
find you. And this has been wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank
this was really
you.
fun.
It was. And thanks everybody for watching. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.